So I've realized something very interesting about men. Now, we think we're smart. Despite all evidence to the contrary, we've managed to convince ourselves that we are actually intelligent, sentient beings. But the exact opposite is true. In general, we're idiots. Not the men in this room, these other men. Now, this has evolved into something I call my male idiocy theory. MIT for short. Like the school. Now, this explains why MIT makes it so hard for women to enroll. Because nothing shows up a male stupidity like a woman. I know this because I'm married to a wonderful woman. We have 2 great kids and another kid. Now, one of the things that we think we're so good at is our memory. So, case in point, the other day, my wife asked me to go to the grocery store and pick up a loaf of bread and eggs. She said, "You need to write this down." I replied, "Look, it's 2 simple things. I'm not an idiot." So I get to the store, and I realize I need to call her. "Hey, honey, that was a loaf of bread and bologna?" "No, eggs, right, I got it. Yeah, I was just testing you." So I proceed to wander around the store because I'm not going to look up at the aisle signs. That's too much like asking directions. So I go around and I pick up all the important things, like beer, potato chips, cheese, beer. And when I get home and I'm unpacking, she says, "Did you pick up the bread and eggs?" They were out. But they said they'll get a delivery any minute. So I'm going to go right back. So after I get back home, I get a pat on the head. And I proceed to wag my tail. Just like a puppy. Wet myself. And go chew on her shoes. Now, something else that we think we're very good with is money, and by omission, which means that we're good with math. So I get a $50 a week allowance, which I thought I was the only one. Obviously, I'm not. So I talked to some married friends, and it turns out they too get an allowance. One fellow said, "I get $100 a week." And I'm like, $100? That's like, that's 4 times what I get. So I only get to carry 1 check because you never know when you're going to need to put an emergency deposit down on an apartment. But this check's been in my wallet so long, instead of dollars, it says Confederate currency. Now, something else we think we're good at is directions, because we never have to ask for help. So I got a GPS. And what it now meant is I now had 2 female voices in the car. One telling me what to do, and the other telling me how I'm doing it wrong. At one point, both the GPS and my wife said recalculating. But only one was talking about the direction of the car. So I've since switched over to the Waze app. Now, what gets me about Waze is Waze makes a comment about my life. It tells me, stay on your course, follow the road. It's like my mother's in the car, but this time she's not telling me I should have been adopted. So something else we think we're good with is driving. So I'm not a particularly good parker. As a matter of fact, I can't parallel park. And I live in the city, so that's actually a skill I need. So I bought a smart car. And I figured that would make it easy. And it does, but there's a problem with the smart car, and it's that when you're caught in a crosswind, you get thrown around the road like a small guy in a prison. Sure, it's scary and violent at first, but after a while, you just learn to accept it. Now, the best thing about the smart car is if the battery ever dies, I never have to call AAA. I can just jump start it with my cell phone. Now, another area where is men, we think we're very worldly. So I was I was at the airport, and the agent who was helping me, as I was checking in, she said, "Do you have any baggage?" And I was like, "Well, yeah. I still feel really bad about dumping my girlfriend in 10th grade." And while I was sitting there waiting on the plane, I was at the bar, and I noticed on the TV there was a chase going on, a lot like O.J. Simpson. In this case, the police were chasing an older, slow-moving white Bronco. They ended up arresting Peyton Manning. Another area where we think we're very intelligent is around technology. So, at one point my wife thought she was a geek because she figured out how to play a cassette, and she could flip her Judy Collins tape over to the B side and play that. So one time we got a new car, and she'd been playing that the cassette player wasn't working. So I went out to check it out, and it turns out that she had put the tape in the ashtray. Now, around our house, I'm very adept with some technology, like the TV remote. I'm allowed to use it when I'm in the guest room by myself. So, actually, when it comes to doing things around the house, due to a series of tragic events that have, to this day, remain unexplained, I'm no longer allowed to fold laundry, load the dishwasher, or clean the house. So my wife does all those chores. To this day, she thinks that I did it on purpose. So, who's the idiot now? But one thing I've realized is that marriage is great. I mean, I'm really very lucky. I wouldn't change anything except one thing. And that is, I wouldn't teach her how to shoot again. And the reason is that after all these years, I've realized we're in a dual relationship. And the only way this relationship ends is in a duel. And only one walks away alive. And she's the better shot. Thank you very much.